Breezy and
Mr. Patrice, or Mrs. Breezy.
and Mrs. Breezy, and welcome to another episode of Just Between Us. The topic today is listening within the marriage. So let's talk about listening. So sometimes when my wife and I have discussions and I'll say something, and what I say, she may hear differently.
And vice versa.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure this goes for a lot of couples. The thing I can't understand is the words are the same. The words are the same. Well, what is it? Why is it that the words coming out of my mouth are not the words that you hear?
Well, I'm going to tell you why. You ready? There could be a few reasons why the words that your mate hears aren't the words that you might have said. First reason, filter. What I've been raised to hear, what I've been raised to deal with, what I've learned in my life may be different than yours. So when I'm hearing through the filter and the prism of what I've dealt with, right? 2, tone, right? So you may say one thing and, I don't know, the tone of what the person is saying really does matter, because how you say something is so important.
Well, I agree with that, because there's some certain things that you might say in a way that are less pleasing to my ears, and I'm going to interpret it in a different way than you probably intended it to be.
Yeah.
And I assume, given that I'm not perfect, that sometimes, not often, that when I say certain things with a certain inflection or within a certain tone, that your interpretation of it may be not exactly what my intent was.
And vice versa. There's things that I've said or commented about, and maybe you had feelings about what I've said in the past, or maybe I just sounded off different than what you were expecting, and you took it in a way that I didn't mean it. Or maybe I said it in a way that I didn't mean to say it because I was already aggravated with something else. Sometimes we comment from a place of aggravation because we're going through something at that moment, but it's not the person that we're talking to. We're talking to the feelings that we're having inside. But the thing is clarity. Getting clarity in your conversations is necessary.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I remember this exercise that we went through years ago when we were talking to each other, but we weren't hearing each other.
Absolutely.
And somebody said, well, let me put you onto this exercise. And the exercise, and you guys better take notes for this, because we're giving you gems right now. Family Breezy gems.
Gems. Breezy gems.
Breezy gems. Breezy gems. Hashtag Breezy gems.
Oh my gosh.
The exercise was, in a simple, go back to back and make a statement. And then let the person who you're back to back with recite to you what they heard and then what they meant. Yeah. Because it's one thing to hear something, it's another thing when the person has a certain inflection or a certain tone or a certain look.
Yes.
But we found that to be a profound exercise in our relationship, because we started doing that, and my wife is pretty awesome when it comes to this. I would say something and she said, well, what exactly did you mean by that? And I would say, well, exactly what I said. She goes, I don't think that's what you meant by what you said.
I hope that ain't what you meant.
She would also say, I hope that's not what you meant. And then she would spit it back to me the way that she heard it. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. Yeah. What I meant was X, and what you heard was Y.
Yeah. And that goes to saying as well, sometimes we say things the wrong way, or not in the wrong way. Sometimes we say things that we don't mean. It comes out not the way we intended it to, right? We're human. So we speak something, and maybe it doesn't bother somebody else when we say it like that. Even though we're husband and wife, the way he talks to his friends and the way he talks to me, I'm like, I am not at the shop with you and your boys. I don't want to hear it like that, right? So your inflection does have to be different when you're talking to your mate. I mean, we go through different things. The best thing about going back to back is, first of all, don't start with something that is aggravating you or something that's upsetting. The way you start this program is to turn back to back and just simply say, you know what did you have for breakfast? What'd you have for lunch?
Simple exercise.
Simple exercise.
Just to clean the ear palate.
Yes. And then you work up to having the other conversations that seem to be difficult or seem to be conversations that you continually have over and over again. But asking for clarity, make sure you ask for clarity before you go to like 10, okay? Ask for clarity. Maybe you need to walk away and come back and say, you know what, that really bothered me. Is this what you meant? Because this is what I heard.
Because this is something that I really adopted. We'll have a conversation about something which I'm not quite sure whether or not I agree with it, but I hear what she's saying, and I'll tell my wife, you know, I need to step away and digest this, because if I respond now, I don't think I'm responding to exactly what you said, because I'm not interpreting it the way that you might have meant it. So I really have to get a great understanding as to what do I think she meant, from what I heard.
Yeah.
What did she actually mean? And then I can start asking some of those context questions. So you said this because of this. What did you mean by that? If your first reaction is to react once hearing something, that means you're listening, but you're not hearing.
Yeah. You're listening just to respond.
You're listening just to respond.
But you're not listening to hear the heart behind it.
Right.
And I had to learn to let him go and process things, right? Because I'm one who was like, let's sit here, let's work it out until we all feel better, and let's, move on. And that and that is not healthy for everybody. I could sit there and hash it out until whatever. But I had to learn that with my husband. I had to learn that with my children, because I'm always seeking peace. But part of getting to a peace is allowing everybody to process the way they need to process, and then come back to the table and say, hey, can we talk about this calmly, right? Instead of trying to get there and forcing people to get there. And now I'm good at that. I'm good at being like, you know what? I think I'm going to go away with this. And he's like, no, let's talk. I'm like, I think I'm going to walk away. I'm going to come back when I'm not so much in my feelings. And we're going to discuss it.
And I think likewise, she'll tell me something that I may not necessarily be in agreement with at first, because I'm not quite sure the place is coming from or the full context behind it. And I'm very honest with her. I'll tell her, I'm going to get back to you on that. Or she'll ask me, well, you don't have a response? And I'll say, well, I'm still processing this. She's all right, cool. Process it. Cool. Just make sure you get back to me. And that's fair. You don't necessarily need a response in that moment.
No.
What the person, what your mate needs to know is that you heard what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You heard my heart.
Being heard. Sometimes he may walk away and I feel that he didn't understand everything I was saying. But there's always an opportunity to come back together and have a conversation calmly. By the way, babe, that is the Walmart I said we would be passing.
Huh. Go figure. I must not have heard that.
Listen.
Hold on. In my defense, I said I wasn't sure. I didn't say that. I was processing it.
We can just agree to disagree, everybody. We get in marriages and we get frustrated and upset because we don't feel heard. We don't feel like we can speak our truth. We have all these things going on, and the reality is some things just aren't that deep. They really aren't.
I agree.
They're really just not that deep.
A lot of arguments can be cut off at the head if you realize that the person is listening to you. They are listening. It's just that their response mechanism, their response behavior is just different. And we have to have enough grace, we have to have enough patience to not expect a response in that moment, and let the response come after that person gets a second to really digest what you're saying. Now, that's not always easy, and that may not always be the case. For us, it was a process.
Conversations are necessary. And maybe if you're in a place where your relationship is in a heightened, stressful place, maybe you need to invest in a couples counselor or somebody who's impartial that can kind of navigate you through the interpretation of what your mate is going through. We meet with a lot of couples, and a lot of times we're just there to be able to navigate so that they can hear each other. And a lot of times they're like, oh, that's what you meant? I didn't understand. Because when your emotions are so high and when you're following your feelings can lie to you, because your interpretation is yours and it may not be the other person's interpretation, right? So having somebody there being like, okay, this is what he's trying to say, or this is what she's trying to say. Or sometimes we say things and we're not even talking about the things that we're talking about, right? We're fighting about something else. We're fighting about the fact that you didn't hear me 10 times. Not that you didn't hear me this time, or you didn't do what I wanted you to do, or you didn't get the milk or something. We're fighting about the fact that we haven't felt heard and respected. Listening to your mate, listening without responding, listening without expecting to respond. Because sometimes I know for me as a woman, I just need you to hear my heart. I don't need you to fix it. I don't need you to be a knight in shining armor. I just want to feel like you're in this with me and you're hearing what I'm saying and you're hearing the pain and the sadness or even the frustration and the anger is more important than you trying to come back and have an answer for me. You know, I'm a grown up. I don't need an answer all the time.
And that's a great point, because especially when your emotions are heightened, you choose to hear what you want to hear. So your mate might be saying one thing, but you're deciphering it and picking out things that support the place that you're at.
Yes.
Right. So
support your explanation.
That's going to support your explanation.
Yeah.
Exactly. But if you have somebody there, or someone that can absorb what they're saying,
mm-hmm.
interpret what they're saying because they're unbiased,
yeah,
and then regurgitate it back to you in a manner that now there's no feelings involved because I'm a third party, mm-hmm. right? I have no stake in this game.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you can actually hear what they actually meant. I know there's been a number of conversations where we've had when we went through our issues, and we would say certain things, and they would take a third party to say, "Well, that's not what she's saying. What she's saying is this."
Yeah.
And I would be like, well, that's not what she said. But, well, that is what she said. It's just that you're in your feelings, so all you heard was X.
Yeah.
But she was actually saying X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. When you think about going, I don't even know why this pops in my head, but like you go to the movie and you take two different people to the movie, what they see, the little details and what they see may be different. And you come out of the movie and you're like, oh, did you see when they did? That was so cool. And you're like, when did that happen? Well, we're all seeing, we're all hearing, we're all feeling differently. Sometimes it's exact and sometimes it's not. And it's not a bad thing. And it doesn't mean that we're not being loved by our mates. It just means we're not clones of each other.
Right.
We have our own daily, when I go through a stressful day and Drew starts to talk to me, sometimes he's like, what's the matter? And it's not him. I just been through a stressful day. So if he adds something, well, why didn't you do this? I'm like,
well, first of all, I'm charming, I told you before. So I add no additional stress to your life.
Are we not talking in truth now?
Carry on, my
But that may add something, and it wasn't something that, he did or said or whatever. It's just we all have our own daily things that we have to get through and be a part of, And for those of you that are out there, maybe you need somebody to walk with you. And, Drew and I are here. We're in a world now where everything's virtual. So we do Zoom for couples. If you need somebody like that and there's nobody around you that's able to do that, or you feel that is distance enough for you to do that, please don't ask your mother or your father or your sister and them to be that third party, because my mama is going to take my side. She's going to take his side too sometimes, but she's going to take my side just like his mama's probably going to take his side first. Or, they're emotionally attached to us.
They're emotionally invested
in us. And so, without not loving us, they love both of us equally, but it's not smart to bring people that are emotionally invested in your relationship, because maybe you're mad and you're going to get over it, but the person that you share it with may never get over it.
Right.
They may keep bringing it up and you want to move forward. Here's the thing. You should have a conversation about it. You just got to be wise about where you're accountable to each other and who you're accountable with.
Absolutely.
So that you can move forward healthy. We went through a lot in our relationship, and we had to step outside of the people that are the closest to us so that we could be accountable the correct way, and so that we could share the truth of what we were going through in our hearts without feeling like this person was going to still be mad.
But what made it most important was that we took the time to understand that we needed to listen.
Yeah.
We had to be intentional about listening. And that's not always easy, because sometimes you don't always want to hear what's being said.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes those things that need to be said, you have to hear.
Yeah. Ooh, that was nice.
Of course. So that being said, we have calls to action for you if you're listening.
Yep.
Call to action number one is, if you're going through something and you don't feel like you have people you can talk to as mates,
mm-hmm.
reach out to us.
Reach out to us.
Call action number two is, if you're going through something with your mate and you feel like your mate's not listening, do the back-to-back exercise. Pastor Patrice, explain that again.
Well, first of all, I'm going to say this. I'm going to reverse. Reach out to us. Call action number two. Do the back-to-back.
First. First? Okay.
I want to do it first. I just want to get us in a position where you start, us meaning you all, in a position where you start communicating on the little things. Now, if you're in an explosive state, then do the one first and reach out to us. But if you're not in an explosive state, get back to back and say, hey, let's just try it. Let's see what we hear. Okay? Get back to back, literally, without any distractions. Get back to back and then start just asking simple, not even, set a simple question. Is this, let's talk about our breakfast today. What did you do at work today? What happened on your ride home today? And work up that way. All right? Those are the call to actions. So, without further ado,
I'm trying to drive without getting lost. But we love you guys. Don't forget, this was another episode of Just Between Us. The listening episode.
Yes.
We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Yes. So,
what's happening right now?
I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
Cut the
footage. I can't cut the footage. Look at the baby in behind me. So, pull over to the side because I have to say something. We have to say something real quick. Hey, everybody. This is a new episode about
Just About Us.
Just Between Us. Let's try that again. Hey, everybody. This is another episode
of real. Just Between Us.
Okay.
With sleeping kids in the back.
With sleeping kids in the back. Okay, grandkids, magic. Let's try this again, babe.
Okay.
All right. Welcome to another episode of
Just Between Us.
And this episode is on listening. Make sure that you give us a thumbs up. Boom. Push that button.
Subscribe.
And subscribe to our
like
channel.
Like us on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram. Clap for us on Snapface, Snapchat, Snap him, Snap her, Snap something.